July 13th. Jody?
Thank you. Please note, committee of the whole meetings are streamed live and recorded on YouTube. Attendees acknowledge that in accordance with section 20 sub 2 of the Access to Information Act and section 4 sub C of the Protection of Privacy Act, names, addresses, and other details provided when speaking at a council meeting will be publicly shared. Should you have any questions related to the collection or disclosure of personal information, please contact the Legislative and Advisory Services Division for the Town of High River by sending an email to atipp@highriver.ca.
Thanks, Jody. Approval of today's agenda. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Cooey that Committee of the Whole adopt the agenda for the Committee of the Whole meeting July 13th as presented.
I'll give you that motion.
All in favor? Carried. Consent approvals of minutes, previous minutes. Ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that omnibus motion adopts the following in accordance with Council's procedure bylaw: the June 22nd Special Committee of the Whole Council Engagement Session meeting minutes as presented, and June 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented.
I'll give you that motion there.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. One delegation today from Dream, and Clark is here to come forward and provide us his illustrious presentation.
Illustrious is a good word for it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Is this my spot, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, beautiful. Okay, we're all set up. All right, good afternoon, Mayor Snodgrass. Hello to council. Hello to my friends at administration. My name is Clark Piata. I'm Dream Senior Manager of Development, responsible for our community of Montrose here in beautiful High River. I am here to provide an update on what we're hoping to be a win-win opportunity between Dream and the town. Just to provide some quick background here.
Cheryl, please call that 6221, Cheryl.
A couple slides down if you don't mind. All right. So the background on this, Dream is seeking some fill for our future phases of Montrose. The town, as you are aware, acquired the land south of Montrose via a provincial flood mitigation grant. The town is navigating some provincial conditions related to land use on those lands. And ancillary to this, but related, of course, the town is seeking rec opportunities in the future. So these three things kind of started to be interwoven a year ago in a previous discussion with council, where we identified that Dream could potentially excavate fill from the land to the south. Through that grading program, we could potentially grade the land to its ultimate use, including environmental reserve and, subject to provincial approvals, land that could be used for recreation opportunities. And in doing so, Dream potentially would be able to pay a royalty to the town for that fill and or participate in the funding or construction of a rec facility. Next slide, please. So just to provide some context here, for the lands in question, Montrose, of course, is in
And just a disclaimer before we go too far.
Sure.
When you say rec facility, we're talking like ball diamonds. We're not talking
Ball diamonds.
Seton Center.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking
Correct, Mr. Mayor, yeah.
Well, depends on how much he's willing to pay.
I know, but we're live streaming, so I just wanna make sure before
Very good, Mr. Mayor, yeah.
the posts start hitting Facebook that, hey, we got a new rec center, just Clark showed up.
Yeah, we're definitely talking ball diamonds. No, correct, Mr. Mayor, yes, and of course, as you know, we've talked about potentially like a quad facility for ball diamond soccer fields, those kinds of levels of facilities. Very good. Town lands, of course, are in green to the south, sitting there in Foothills County. Next slide, please. So a real quick snapshot here from Dreams End. This is a succinct summary of how much fill we are looking for. Roughly 350 to 400,000 cubic meters of fill over the next 4 phases. Next slide, please, if you don't mind. So basically, we're looking for this fill over the course of the next 10 years. That's roughly the build out of the remaining phases of Montrose. The first 4 phases, phases 5, 6, 7, and 8, they all have land use, roughly 250,000 cubic meters of fill required for those. There is phase 22, which is on the lower bench in the southeast part of Montrose. That would require 100,000 cubic meters of fill. That particular piece of land does not yet have land use. So at times it's in or out of the discussion, right, Mr. Mayor? Sure. Quick summary of land use status for the town lands there. As mentioned, acquired via flood mitigation grant from the province. There are conditions of the acquisition that the land be dedicated as environmental reserve. Quick reminder about environmental reserve. It needs to be natural or naturalized lands. Land is used as drainage course, land abutting water, or land that is subject to flooding in order to qualify as ER. The north part of the town lands is flood protected by the bypass dike, and it is at a higher elevation than what would be inundated in regular flood events. So currently that land would not meet the definition of ER. But of course the town has made a request to the province to allow those lands to be redesignated as municipal reserve and retain the funding for the land acquisition. The final item on the town lands is the town is currently in year 2 of a 5-year lease, according to the leasing. So a few different things that have to be navigated there. Now, with all of that background set up, this spring, Dream, with the town's permission, did undertake some due diligence as a proof of concept for all of this. So we did a geotechnical analysis, we did some high-level grading, we did some high-level costing on this. And the conclusions of that were the material that is there is sufficient to be used as structural fill for a land development project. There is sufficient material to meet our needs. The town land could be graded in a way that allows rec facilities in the north, again, ball diamonds, soccer field, and could be graded so that the lands in the south could act as flood conveyance, flood mitigation. And based on our high-level cost modeling, it looks like we project that there could be a royalty paid to the town for this material. Next slide, please. So the figure on the left here just shows roughly how the site could be set up. The lower elevation water conveyance lands sitting in the south, and the higher elevation berm protected, flood protected lands to the north. The figure that's there on the right, that's basically the current flood mapping with the bypass dike now in place, modeled to the 2013 event, and that of course confirms, like I said, the land in the north, flood protected, higher, good use for rec land, the land in the south, lower elevation, flood mitigation lands. So, revisiting that first opportunity that I said, yeah, it looks like Dream could excavate the land from the town, or the fill from the town land. The land could be graded to its ultimate land use, including environmental reserve or rec lands to the north and rec lands to the north. And there is an opportunity for Dream to pay a royalty for that group. Of course, that's just a proof of concept. There are still challenges to navigate, quite a few of them actually. Of course, as Riley is very, very aware, provincial approval is required still to redesignate those lands as municipal reserve, as rec lands. The land sits in Foothills County and therefore does require permitting from your neighboring county. And then at a more detailed level, of course, because we don't have a firm negotiation or agreement in place, we don't have an ultimate grading plan designed yet. There are provincial approvals that are required when you are doing work in close proximity to Littlebow. And from a time perspective, we are aspiring to do phase 5 in 2027, which means that we would like to have fill in place this fall, or at the very least, spring of next year. So to navigate those challenges in the short term, Dream is pursuing a development permit in Foothills County. It is at our risk and our cost. Basically what we're looking to do is to get a permit to do grading in September, October of this year, We are looking to leave all of the land that we're grading at above the elevation required for flood protection, so that there is no change in basically the flood profile. We would replace the loan so that the land could continue to be farmed through the end of the town's lease. Of course, we would pay royalties to the town for that dirt. And basically, the reason for this approach right now is to try to buy time for a larger grading program, which of course does require additional provincial approval navigation. And as you'll recall with the earlier slide, we're looking for dirt basically every 2 to 3 years as the phases progress. So basically, if we can get through an agreement to get the fill for phase 5, that opens up, a 3-year window to basically develop out the full plan, and that would see the town through to the end of its 5-year lease on the agricultural lands there. So next slide, please. So in the longer term, we are looking, of course, to collaborate with the town on an ultimate grading plan. We would be more than happy to help the town lobby the province for a land use change to MR. And of course, we would like to enter into an agreement that outlines how and when Dream could access the land, what the royalty structure looks like, including value and timing, and obligations related to rec facilities on the lands, if applicable. So it takes us to the final slide, which just says the request. So our request is that the town enter into an agreement with Dream to give Dream permission to excavate roughly 70,000 cubic meters of dirt from the lands to the south of Montrose. Of course, subject to the town and Dream entering into or agreeing to a royalty valuation and a payment structure, to Dream securing the necessary permits from Foothills County in order to proceed, and Dream restoring the land to agricultural use for the remaining term of your agricultural lease. And then, of course, in the longer term, we are seeking to collaborate with the town on the ultimate grading plan, negotiate and enter into, a discussion of the value and timing of royalties to be paid to the town, timing of the overall grading program, and of course, obligations related to a rec facility, if that's what makes sense and the best use of the royalties that would be available here. So I think I'm probably a couple minutes over time.
No, you're good.
Very good, all right.
Well done.
Okay, happy to take questions here.
So Clark and I have met on this 2 or 3 times, just kind of spitballing this idea around as to how it would or could work. Obviously, it's challenging because it's town-owned land within Foothills County that's got flood designation and flood money attached to it, and MR and ER and all these designations. So there's a lot of challenges with it, especially with Foothills County permitting, to get a development permit like that done, which would be, up to the county at the end of the day, what they wish. So, there's another piece. Riley will remember that, some of those county lands that we acquired with the flood buyout stuff, the county has asked the province that they be put back into county ownership as well. So we don't know, and that's never been followed through on by the province, but regardless, today we own it, so we have our stake in it. The rec facilities would not have to be located on that site, because we don't know whether after the excavation is done, what that's going to look like, what the grading is going to look like, how it would affect flood mitigation. But it would have to be there. It could definitely be in the northwest. It could be in the northeast on the lands we're doing the ASP on right now, just as an example. So just a little bit of background from my end as to where we're at. So I'll open it up. Questions? Council, Michael?
On this compensation piece, has this discussion been to trade dirt for a ball diamond, or that's really to be negotiated?
Sure. Yeah. Through the chair to Councilor Nychak. Yeah. To be negotiated. As I've said to this council a few times before, basically, we'll run our revenue profile on a development. We'll understand what we can pay for cost. And we have an idea of the amount of money that we could pay for earthworks as a whole. It looks like based on the modeling that the actual cost to move the dirt is less than we would have available for earthworks as a whole. And the difference would be made available in the form of royalties. So now whether those royalties are a payment to the town to purchase the dirt, or whether that's, payment in the form of construction, we're open to all approaches. So, to answer the question, we haven't zeroed down on exactly what it is. All options are absolutely open. Probably money is the easiest thing. But we're all ears.
What's, maybe you want to share this, maybe you won't. What do you guys pay for fill right now?
That's, to be honest, we typically do not pay for film.
Well, lots of it people get rid of, cause, but
Yes. Yeah.
we're not trying to get rid of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, of course, the amount that
Do
we
you have,
would,
do you have a cubic meter number in your head?
sure,
Negotiation starts somewhere, right?
Sure.
I'm not trying to take Riley's job, but.
yeah, totally, no.
Keep going, Mike.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I will, cause I got numbers in my head.
Yeah, totally. On this project in particular, it looks like about $3 a cubic meter that we could pay. That's, yeah, correct. Less if it's entirely upfront. $3 is like the as you take it number. So if we wanted to do like a lump sum payment upfront, of course, there's, a time value of money. We would pay less upfront to basically secure all of it, or pay more as we go, so that we can, have that money available in line with when revenue is generated from future development.
Okay.
So yeah, so it is, roughly $1 million to $1.2 million overall
For all the dirt,
for all the dirt.
not just initial.
For all the dirt.
$72,000.
Correct, yeah, correct. Yeah, so $250,000 for the first tranche.
My little exploration says that your number's low, but I'll just leave it at that.
That's.
Well, then the differential comes on their end, comes from trucking costs. Physically moving the dirt, whether it's, obviously, it's gonna be a heck of a lot cheaper to get it
It's a lot of trucks.
from across the fence,
It's a lot of trucks.
as if you have to go elsewhere outside of town
Correct,
and start to bring all that back in.
correct.
It's going to be significantly more, which is
Yeah.
why the royalties kind of obviously depend on.
Yeah, the royalty is strictly the difference, right? That's the amount that's available to be paid relative to what the budget can handle.
Any other questions?
And our willingness to sell the dirt.
Yeah, and your willingness to sell the dirt, correct.
Kathy?
My question is probably more for Riley than it is for Clark. When we look at, this area and asking for municipal reserve, had it changed to municipal reserve, are we only looking for this, 250 meter by 250 meter footprint to become?
No, our request to the province is a lot more broad than that. Is the ER, sorry, Clark, do you have the ER map?
Which one do you want?
Oh, yeah, you're not controlling. Keep going. I don't think it's actually in this.
Yeah, there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually the drawing we sent to the province. And what we said was, there is a requirement within the funding agreement that says all land purchased for the project shall be ER. We've gone back to the province and said, that actually doesn't make sense. There's quite a bit of property that, because the way we were offering the purchases to landowners, it was we'll buy an easement or we'll buy the whole thing. And we were giving the option. So, for example, this parcel that said, I don't want these little slivers, I don't want to deal with that hassle, I just want to sell you the whole parcel. We bought the whole parcel. So in circumstances like that, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to make the whole parcel ER when you have so much that actually has potential to do something. So we've written back and said, we know it's all supposed to be ER based on the funding agreement, but we would like that reconsidered and would like permission to do I'd have to go back to the letter. It was essentially low intensity, so no buildings,
Yeah.
no development. But we would like to do, recreation, park space, dog parks, that kind of thing. As well as potentially use it for a borrow sale. We sent that to the province, 6 months, no more than that now, November-ish last year. Don't quote me on the date. And we poke them every once in a while and say, hey, any updates? And they just keep saying it's in process. So, sorry Kathy, what was the question? I've gone way down.
That we're asking more than the 250 meter by 250 meter footprint for MR.
Correct.
So I'm really after that whole,
So yeah, we're not
North
actually
area
asking
to be
for
MR.
anything specific. We're asking for what's not ER to be able to be used for the purposes we outlined in the letter, which is basically recreational usage and, work.
perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? Vicky?
Just to clarify for me, so this land we own, but it's not within our boundaries.
Correct. We own land that's in Foothills County.
So we don't have control over what happens to it from a developmental point of view.
Correct.
I would clarify that, ER has to be owned by the jurisdiction. So when we finally settle on what the boundaries of ER is, and it gets dedicated as ER, the county would take over ownership of the ER. What's in debate is the balance.
So if we're wanting to turn it into an MR?
We weren't specific with, I don't think we were specific about the zoning when we asked the province. We just said, we want these uses.
Yeah.
For one more question, just to kind of clarify expectations as you did. So if we are looking at something like this and this partnership, the reality of seeing any sort of rec facility, whether it's here or somewhere else, we're likely at least 5 years down the road. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's a ways down the road and, you know, the royalties coming from Dream, are a certain amount of that project. It won't be the entirety of the project. So
Right.
whatever we do, there's still gonna be the majority of it. High River's still gonna pay for it. If we're doing this, you know, as we're talking about ball diamond facilities, soccer pitches, those kinds of things. The town still hold the majority of the bag for those projects, so.
Yeah.
Dream will be a partner in it.
Yeah, but finding ultimate funding to help the project makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
So we'd have to put any of the royalties, if and when paid, into a specified reserve?
Good, yeah. Go into the recreation
If
reserve.
that's what we're wanting to go ahead with.
Any other questions? Okay, we will, take what your asks are and we'll get them, and discuss those in a future meeting. Okay, but very good. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thanks.
Subdivision permit application, Gennady.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The Planning and Development Division has received a subdivision application at what is 90 and 101 Monte Drive Southeast. If you could slide to the key map, show that. So right here. These are two parcels which are in Montrose. Sorry. And we are bringing this here for information to see if council has any feedback after the presentation. The purpose of the subdivision itself is to create, if I could actually, yeah, zoom out a little bit. There we go. Thanks, Bob. Or if you could, yeah, the purpose is to create a total of 29 parcels, which will be towards future residential use. So there are two parcels near each other. The one for 19 Montish Drive Southwest is on the north side, at the top. There'll be a total of 25 lots. And there is a smaller parcel on the south side, which will be divided into 4 lots towards residential use. The subdivision itself is outside of the scope for the new bylaw which was recently adopted, where council has become the development authority for certain types of applications. So here view this just for information to get your feedback, because it's not a type of subdivision. There's an element in the subdivision which is not typical that we see in town. So we wanted to bring it here and inform you guys and see if you guys had any comments or if you were in support and had no concerns. So town administration did review the proposed plan of subdivision. We are ultimately supportive of the subdivision layout. We have reviewed the comments of our internal divisions, and we don't have concerns with the proposal as such. What it will create in addition to the lots themselves is also what we are referring to as a greenway. So there will be a road right-of-way dedication, which will become a public walkway from the south side to the north side, connecting the commercial plazas there. And that will be a 5-meter asphalt walkway surrounded by 1.75 meters of a green boulevard on either side, and that will see that will then transition into the private properties and the frontages. Val, could you scroll down a little bit? So it does include also rendering. This is just to give an idea of what ultimately the product and the subdivision itself will look like once developed. So you can see that there is this public walkway in between the private properties with a transition into the green frontages of each private property. So in order for us to really realize that vision, 2 of the items that we would be looking to have an endorsement of the subdivision would be architectural controls agreement to ensure that really what is being presented here is going to be realized. For example, if you want to make sure that there is not going to be any fencing in the frontage, just to retain that seamless transition, that's going to be part of it. And then we also would want to ensure that we register a maintenance and obligations agreement, just to make it clear to future property owners and to the town where the responsibility is for snow clearing, grass maintenance, and the frontages. So what the private property owner should expect to be responsible for, and then what the town would be responsible for. For example, if we need to repair the asphalt walkway at some point in the future, that would fall onto the town. So I would like to then now also bring up the one additional point here is that the applicant did let us know that there may potentially be a request for a variance with a future development permit application. For example, for the front setback of the homes to the actual property line. We did let them know that we can acknowledge that, but it's something that we will not be able to comment at this time. We will be able to comment on it once we have a development permit application and review it through that development permit application process. I would like to see members of council have any questions or comments right now at this point. Jenny?
So are these like townhouses, but single families, and each one has is like one unit, or are they divided? You don't know.
We don't have like drawings yet that we have previously seen, so it's a rendering right now. The idea was that it would be townhomes on either side here. So they would have party walls, right, through the private properties, but then essentially like a longer, wider building.
And where would they park? Where's parking?
Well, if you could go down a little, oh, sorry, go up to the, and then up one more. And then just zoom out a little, yep, show it. Yep, so vehicular access would be from the road right-of-way dedication here, which will act as internal as a vehicular lane. So this would be the frontages of the homes, and then access would be from what would be.
So they would have, garages in there.
Potentially that could be the case, because again, we don't have their proposed development yet. We
Okay.
can't say for sure. We do know that they have, presented to us an idea, which would be that the townhome would have an attached garage, so the first story would be essentially the garage space. And then the second story and the third story would be the dwelling units. Council Barton?
Thanks for putting this presentation together for us. So just for the public, quick reference. So the area that's to the north of it is where the Wendy's and Anytime Fitness and everything is.
Exactly, yes.
So then with that, to follow up with Jenny's conversation, so I think it's called Montag Lane. Would there be a definition between the two? It would only be for, like, vehicular traffic couldn't use that, like they'd have to have a fence, but public could use the walkway. Is that correct? Just as an assumption?
Yes, exactly. So I believe a walkway, thanks, Bob. Actually, yeah, remain there as well too. But yes, so there would be, I believe, either a fence proposed on the north side, but we will ensure that there is no vehicular traffic through this, right-of-way dedication.
Okay.
By use of bollards, for an example, on either side.
Yeah.
Just to really also visually show that it's not vehicular, vehicular lane.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't see Vicky's hand. We'll go down the line here. Go ahead, Vicky.
I just,
And we'll go to
so the
Kathy.
parking we're looking at in this picture is the mall parking to the north, is that right?
The two cars or vehicles driving through the driveway, but I think beyond that, you're right, Vicki.
Yeah.
So,
Parking there.
I see marked,
Well, could you go back
I
to
see,
the?
I
oh,
see
sorry.
marked parking spots.
Jody. Yeah, if you could go back to the subdivision plan.
Okay.
Yep, just here now. Thanks. So,
I'm looking at the picture, there are marked out parking spaces in the
That's the mall.
picture. And that's the mall?
In the color rendering.
you mean the, here, in the color rendering?
In the color picture.
Oh,
Zoom out,
You can see the Starbucks.
oh, yeah, that's a representation of the Starbucks.
so the subdivision ends at the grass? Is that what it is?
Subdivision will end essentially where the bollard is, just a little, beyond the bollard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Won't it end on the other side of that roadway? Because that is their traffic line. That's their driveway, right?
I can refer to where it would end here, so you can see the, I guess, property line here is great.
Yes.
There is for illustrative purposes, so it's a little harder for me to kind of confirm where it may be, but
So it's a self-contained community, just has public access, pedestrian access.
yeah,
Not vehicular.
through the, yes, through that section of the walkway, yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Michael?
I just gotta
Go to the wall.
Because what I heard was earlier on Gennady, that there was gonna be talk about who was gonna maintain this.
Earlier, yes.
So then, these aren't streets that exist. So I would assume the developer is thinking they're gonna create these streets and the town of High River is gonna look after them.
This is a road right-of-way dedication, yes, that we did review, and,
But this doesn't exist right now.
Correct.
This road is
Correct.
not a road, this is just a parcel of land.
current, yes.
So for me, if they wanna develop this is like a condo complex. They look after it all. They look after the roads. I don't want the town of High River involved in a personal kind of condo development like this. That's creating infrastructure that we didn't put there. We didn't create these roads and say, okay, here's your dirt to build lots on. They came up with this plan, so I'm not really in favor of the town of High River ever looking at road maintenance and repaving and.
This is a pocket development like Polo Park.
Yeah.
Right? You're responsible for your roads and your landscaping. In my mind.
That's the way I see this
It's like there's a distinct entrance to Polo Park. But the problem I see is there's not a distinct entrance.
Sure,
It looks like there's two of them.
There's two.
It's a horseshoe, show the horseshoe.
I understand the horseshoe.
Here,
That's the
right here.
community.
That's
I
their
understand the
entrance.
horseshoe,
Yeah.
but there's parking.
No, there
Where's
isn't.
their parking?
Yeah, if you look on the picture,
Well, that's just a
That's
rendering.
just a rendering, Vicky, it doesn't mean anything.
then we gotta, well, then why is it there?
To give us a vision of what they're trying to develop.
So
Where's this parking shown, Paul?
what I'm
Which
saying
slide?
is, once you get the photos.
Sorry, Vicky.
Is this the one you want?
Doesn't matter. There are parking lanes marked here, 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 and so is this,
Corey,
So, go ahead.
is that part of the mall?
to
Or is
jump
that
in.
part of these people?
Yeah, so to jump in, this rendering is not, I would say 100% accurate, because this would be the road that you're seeing at the back on the north side of that.
Yeah.
The rendering has cars parked where the actual
Yeah.
road would be going through there. That's my interpretation of that.
So let's go back.
That's, yeah, interpretation.
Yeah.
That's accurate, yeah.
So. What is gonna distinguish between this road and this parking lot?
we don't maintain the parking lot either,
I know,
right?
but,
Oh, it's distinguishing like with a fence or something?
well,
Can I-
how
can I
are
mention the
people gonna
fence?
know? People are gonna drive in the mall or whatever, they're gonna park all over the place. How are people gonna know what's what?
Yeah.
And where they can go, where they can't go, what they're responsible to pay, what they're not responsible to pay?
I think that's what Gennady, you mentioned about a fence line going across there that could be
Right,
done and
yeah,
using
so that
bollards
would be-
to.
Exactly,
Yeah.
make sure a fence and then a bollard
The
here.
DP's not in yet, so a lot of the
Yeah.
details are not, this is just the subdivision and the
Sure.
DP follows, so
Right.
you don't have a lot of that detail yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, but if we start talking about maintaining roads in the conversation, and I'm the developer, I'm thinking, there's a possibility that the town of High River is gonna look after these roads.
Yes, and that is 100% a subdivision conversation, because that's when the roads get dedicated, so now is the time for that conversation.
I'm not interested in taking on those roads, this is a pocket condo style development that they're responsible for. Inside there.
Okay, yeah, no, that's certainly, feedback we'll take back and work with, so.
Landscaping and everything. Hey,
Yeah, I like the idea of the walkway, like I like that vision of this paved walkway and, you know, big grass frontages, and it's nice, but I don't wanna foot the bill for it
I
long
don't
term.
know of another.
So the only thing that I've come across.
Somebody's itching to say something.
Can I jump in? Yeah, Mayor Snodgrass, may I jump in on that?
Oh, hey, Clark, yeah.
Thanks for hanging around to provide some context.
If I can pop up, I can answer any of these questions.
I didn't see the name, but this isn't you, is it?
Yeah, this is us.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is us.
Oh, even better.
So, a couple things to go through, right? The land use bylaw does require, public access, through a certain distance on blocks, right? So the challenge with this being potentially a condo site is that between this and the land that Sobeys owns over here, the block matrix would be too long, that it wouldn't meet your bylaw requirements for public access, right? So that by nature starts to develop it as a fee simple product where we would have dedicated accesses for the public through, right? So that is the genesis of this whole thing, how we end up with fee simple, an application for fee simple subdivision. The other thing is that there is, an 8-acre site, a little bit east of here, and another 4-acre site further east of here that is all proposing to do condo product that is very similar to this. What the town does not have is fee simple, affordable, no condo fee products that can potentially appeal to, say, seniors, downsizers. So that is the product type that we're talking about here. If this was pure green land, if it hadn't been, or pure
What do
greenfield.
you
if it-
mean by fee simple?
Fee simple, freehold. as in not condominiumized.
So they buy each one, so like,
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, to answer that question earlier, yes, it'd be row towns, individual units, as Gennady said, with party walls, no different than street towns that front onto a street. Councilor Nychak, what I would say, to your conversation about the town not wanting to maintain it. In a normal block matrix, like these would exist fronting onto a road, these would exist fronting onto a road, these do exist fronting onto a road. The level of maintenance the town would have to incur in this is less than regular fee simple development, because rather than having a full road to maintain here, it's a very small walkway. That regular snow shoveling, grass mowing and stuff would be taken care of by the residents here. So in terms of like the maintenance burden to the town, it's actually less than regular fee simple development. And not only that, we have to, as I said before, set it up this way in order to meet the town's bylaw to have smaller blocks, to have pedestrian thoroughfares. So this really is a manifestation of a lot of the rules that the town has already put in place. Okay. In terms of parking, yes, all of the units that we're talking about here, 3-story townhomes with drive-under garages on the main floor. They'd have access off the Green Street or the Greenway. These ones over here that are a little bit longer, we're talking with 2 builders right now about potentially be doing row homes, so bungalow townhomes there. So again,
Which way do those face, Clark? Which would be the front of the house?
front of the house would be on the street.
To first?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the idea is not to make this an enclosed, small community. The idea of this is to open it up so that the residents of Montrose have a way to publicly walk through and access the commercial sites. It's to provide small pocket affordable housing. Not affordable housing, right? But small pocket homes that are at a better price point than
Something else.
something else. Exactly, and something that really appeals to demographics that we're seeing a need for in High River, but we're not seeing a whole lot of, the market filling into support coming from.
That helps.
Sorry, and then the last item here, yeah, we're talking about building, basically a black wrought iron fence that will divide the 2 properties. Of course, with an opening there so that they can walk through.
Can I ask one clarification, because you said, you called the walkway the Greenway?
Yeah.
So you said the garages, they would access their garages parking from the Greenway?
Off the horseshoe lane.
no, he said access to their house, like they
Yeah,
can go
okay.
to.
Yeah, that's
Correct, okay, misunderstood, thank you.
But the road around Horseshoe that Michael was inquiring about, is that going to be looked after by the subdivision or by the town?
by the town, public lane.
Because it would be fee simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
okay.
sense. Yeah, and that's, I would say, if you were to blow this up and take a look at the amount of private tax generating land versus public maintained land, this is actually a very good use of space relative to some other things. Any other questions?
That helps a ton, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to lot 14 because it's also red, so I just wanna, is there any variances? That's the piece below with the four lots,
Correct.
right? It's also red on that one. Are there any variances there? Cause it is red on our map, so
Yeah, they're both red.
it's just part of this
To identify them.
request.
Yeah.
Okay,
But for those, I believe, Clark, you were looking at single detached product?
Correct, yeah. Front drive, single family, or front drive villa product.
thank you.
So I like the concept. The one thing though that triggered me a little bit is I'm just using a reference to something that is fee simple in town that in only my opinion, has gone kind of sideways. And it is, I'm gonna go over behind Toyota. The old Toyota, I guess it is old Toyota, it's not there anymore. 1 block north of Toyota, and there's 3-story townhomes that were there, and there's they're all kind of red with cedar siding, and they've all got a different look, and none of them maintain them the same. And that's my only concern with creating a product like that, is that I don't know if there's something that we could put in place where they actually have to have like even though they're fee simple or whatever, that they have to have the building, if they're all connected.
Right.
That they have to have some sort of informal group that helps maintain them.
Can do by restricted covenant, set architectural and maintenance controls.
Okay,
Yeah, and we can review that through those mechanisms.
Okay.
Is there any other feedback council would like, to share for us to take back and take a further look at?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
And where is council now, on the road right-of-way dedication being maintained by the town? Is there something we need to look into further, or does
That one's still a
explanation?
little bit weird to me.
Okay.
We'd be taking on a loop like that. What's the other option? Like Clark, I get what you're saying with our land use bylaw and the connectivity going through on the pedestrian piece of it. Not getting where the loop comes into play on that.
still like a cul-de-sac.
The loop really helps us also achieve like our land use, really vision, where, vehicles are, where they are, where the site is accessed from the rear, right? So the focus becomes really the frontages of the homes rather than the, vehicle, focused, perception.
This would be a loop like Garth's loop.
Yeah, the same idea, because there's the houses around it. I'm on Emerson Road. You look after yours, I don't.
You do all your own snow plowing on that
Yeah,
site,
right,
stuff,
yeah.
pothole,
No.
potholes, paving,
But the
repaving,
town does come by maybe.
underground infrastructure is all on you.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, I get what, yeah, okay, so.
Okay, so if there's no further feedback, can we call this one good?
Yeah, if we've made it confusing enough for you, then we're good.
There is much.
I'm sorry, would council like to report back with some options? I know we explored some of them earlier with Dream prior to getting here, so I mean, that is something we could do a report on and bring back and.
Sure,
Pros and cons.
let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that. Thanks, Riley.
Sure. go ahead,
Specific,
go for it.
specific to the road, specific to the road ownership.
I think a bit broader, because I think road ownership invokes a condo, so I think. we have to- Yeah.
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 Should I mention that?
We've got a few of these kind of going on here, there.
That's near Snodgrass,
Yeah,
we provided two, subdivision extensions on this already. Subdivision application, extension runs out, August 14th. We would love to get some pipes in the ground this year. I'm not sure that additional time for report will allow us to do that. Everything that we're doing here is fully land use bylaw compliant, so, aside from blowing it up and redoing the application, which we're really not interested in, I would ask council to consider, endorsing this by this.
right. So are we able to endorse the thing, but figure out the ownership of the road later? Or
No.
everybody's saying no. So you want us to do it right now, here, today? What do you wanna do, council?
Well, you can't.
I have no problem.
Pretty full. You'd have to bump it up.
Well, you can, because we're only given,
Can we show that? You can't.
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Can we go, back to the overview map of the whole area? So this is me and my challenge with this is developers asking us to take on this road. Unless somebody from administration can tell me, this road here is similar to that. I'm assuming this was you guys too, Clark.
Correct.
So we don't own this road.
That's.
We do.
That's feasible products. You do.
We own it.
You do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lane.
We own it?
Yeah.
This would be treated the same as where you're going. This is.
Yeah, that's
to
what I
us-
was that's why I'm trying to tie this together.
To us, we would treat this as a lane. It would be maintained in the same level and standard as a lane. The difference with this product is there is no front access. So there could be some challenges with parking because residents will probably want more immediate or better access to the rear of the property, which was one of our concerns.
But they have that same problem on that piece, right?
No, because they have a road in the front.
Oh, okay.
The other product has a road in the front, so it's a little different from that perspective.
But am I correct in my thinking is if they came back to us with a new design, let's say, now it's gonna be single family homes back to back, we're paying for, and we will be responsible for the road that goes in between those single family homes. So if they come back with a different design, we're responsible for the road.
What road between single family homes?
Well, he'll,
If you did this and chunked it into 4 or 6 or whatever it would be, there is no road, it's just.
but there would be,
There would be.
if they were single family homes.
Right.
Because those, they would turn them into single family homes, probably facing in, and there would be a road.
Access.
Still road
Access.
Split in a place. east.
Cause it would
Oh,
split it in
depends,
two.
yeah, I was just thinking if this became the frontage, houses face this way to the street, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. That's where I was saying there's no road if you do that, right? It's First and Monty, but we have this example here already, so we're doing the same thing there.
I mean, I'm glad that this has been brought forward because I think this is part of where some of our challenges with the traditional neighborhood, our whole review comes up as this is. I think based on your guys' opinion and on Clark's opinion, that we're actually fitting our current land use bylaw and we've come to some sort of consensus that it's fitting. It's just now and I don't, no disrespect to any of us, I don't wanna stall something that is fitting, right? Like if we want something to change, this one fits the current land use bylaw. There's not much we can do to really push back on it, cause I don't think it's a bad design, right? It's just, we learn from this and move forward.
So if we were to, we can't approve it at a council meeting, but how do we get the architectural or maintenance controls in that Jamie was referencing a few minutes back?
Right, and here, yeah, if together in consensus, you don't have concerns with us going forward as shown and as proposed, administration will proceed with really creating a transmittal of decision letter for subdivision. Some items we will include as prior to endorsement conditions. So for example, making sure we get to finalize architectural controls agreement that will be registered on title, making sure we get to a finalized maintenance obligations agreement that's registered on title. If there is a subdivision agreement that needs to be registered on title, that'll be all be part of prior to endorsement conditions. Once we work through all the prior to endorsement conditions, then we'll be ready to endorse their subdivision.
So, does council have any problem with this road being a town road? None?
No.
The rest of it?
Okay.
As submitted.
I think I have less concern because Clark stepped up and said, hey, this is my development, this is Dream's development. If it was somebody we didn't know, I'd probably be a lot more.
Appreciate that.
You've been a good partner, so thank you for, hey, put up your hand and say.
Can I talk? I was like, oh, I think I have a lot more to say, but this is fine.
Okay.
You got the order.
Thank you, Mayor. Council.
Thanks, Kinetic.
With Michelle.
Sounds good.
Land use bylaw update, Corey?
Thank you. I'm up next with Michelle. Mayor and Council, earlier in 2026, there was a direction to update the land use bylaw, particularly the traditional neighborhood district of the land use bylaw. Through Karen Drum's group, engaged with some communication on that. In late April, there was a total of 4 in-person communications, one on the 22nd of April, one on the 28th of April. Each of those days had a public and a developer's piece. Additionally, there was an online survey that was provided with quantitative and qualitative questions related to that survey. Approximately 70 people attended the in-person sessions and 153 survey responses were received. So we're bringing that information to council for your consideration and possibly some direction today on where you would like us to go with this review. Administration has some ideas about how we could move this forward in our own right, but just wanted to do a check-in with council today on the information that we've received and to make sure that we're going on the right path. So just going through the topic areas of the briefing note, on the affordability side, combined 93% of survey respondents indicated that affordability is either a top priority or somewhat important. This is to be undertaken by keeping property taxes low, allowing a greater range of housing types, and collaborating with provincial and federal governments on affordable housing. Process and communication. Many participants indicated that it's important for people to be able to provide input on proposed new developments. It was a top priority identified on the online survey when people were asked what the town should prioritize in reviewing new housing developments. Density was also a major theme that was presented and discussed. A large majority of residents, survey respondents, 90% are concerned that increasing density in High River may create parking challenges. On the online survey, 64% of respondents indicated there should be a consistent guideline for residential density across High River. Approximately 68% of the online survey respondents said that higher density housing should be focused in certain areas of town. Overall, that feedback represents a desire for predictable and clear and thoughtful placement of where high density development should be going in High River. On the parking side, 83% of survey respondents believe that the town should add minimum parking requirements instead of continuing with no minimums. About 72% of online survey respondents think that it's appropriate for each resident to have a minimum of 2 parking spaces, and participants were divided on whether current street parking in their neighborhood is adequate or not. Talking about building design, height and placement, when asked about preferred building height, the top survey response was 2 stories in the traditional neighborhood district. About 68% of respondents indicated that. And to incorporate strategies of locating taller buildings on wider streets, using materials similar to nearby buildings, and incorporating step backs on higher stories if the buildings are going to be higher than 2 stories. Again, neighborhood fit was also a major theme, with 94% of online survey respondents suggesting that it's important that new residential development fit well within the existing character and design of homes that are existing. The top 2 criteria identified by survey respondents for ensuring a new development fits well within an existing pattern are architectural styles and building design consistent with the buildings in the surrounding area. And 39% suggested that side setbacks could be increased. Discussing landscaping and amenity spaces. So participants placed high value on green space and amenities. For multifamily developments, 78% of survey respondents indicated that amenity spaces are important, including playgrounds, community gardens, and dog areas identified as the top 3 desired features. 93% of survey respondents believe that multi-unit development should include substantial green space, and 82% of survey respondents believe the town should prioritize securing functional and well-designed community spaces that serve all of High River residents. So based on the approach of administration and getting this information back, we have taken each of these theme areas and then broken it down a little bit more and assigned it to department staff to have a look at what the current regulation is in the land use bylaw, what the feedback has been from the engagement, what other municipalities are doing related to that matter, and then making some suggestions on the direction for an amendment in the land use bylaw, and then coming up with those actual regulations. So we've created tables for each of these areas. And just as an indication of where we are applying some of that analysis, is we are looking at a broader range of housing types that would include more attainable product, similar to what's been presented earlier today with the subdivision, and just looking at some innovative ways to create housing. Process and communication. reviewing opportunities for public involvement, ahead of a decision. With development permitting, there is a public component, and that's called the appeal process after the decision is made. If there's a variance or if it is a discretionary use, which comes with its own, kind of conflict embedded in that. Other municipalities have incorporated a pre-decision circulation, so if there is something that is, a major variance or a discretionary use, to actually be residents aware before the decision, rather than after, and include them in a pre-circulation, a pre-decision circulation. Density, looking at tightening up and clarifying density regulations in the land use bylaw, with a focus on kind of the what and where. So what specifically would be most appropriate where in High River. Parking, certainly, administration is looking into what are reasonable parking standards for single family and multifamily, and looking to embed those into the land use bylaw based off council direction. Building design, height and placement. So the design and character certainly is the most talked about theme. And it's just, how do you actually actualize that in the traditional neighborhood district? Because it is a little bit different than the current. I'm just pulling up my actual bylaw. So the intent of the traditional neighborhood district right now is to allow for primarily ground-oriented residential development with the integration of local services that serve the daily needs of residents, such as cafes, daycare facilities, home occupations, personal services, small-scale professional offices. And the vision is that the traditional neighborhood district is intended to transition over time to incorporate a variety of housing forms and local services up to a permitted 3 stories with a setback. My interpretation from the feedback that we've gotten specifically to building design, height and placement is the concept of taking the traditional neighborhood district and transitioning it to a higher density, 3-story, really mixed use sort of neighborhood is not in alignment with the feedback that we have received from our consultation. That certainly residents were looking for more of a 2-story, certainty on 2 stories, not necessarily the 3rd, and not necessarily multifamily units being embedded within that traditional neighborhood district randomly. So that's, so just in response to the top of the page, I'm moving on with the briefing note. So in response to this, administration is reviewing height regulations in the traditional neighborhood district with the intention of exploring the impact of moving toward a 2-story maximum. That's certainly the feedback that we heard. And then incorporating some strategies beyond that related to architectural guidelines, either within the land use bylaw or partnering with the land use bylaw. And then lastly, landscaping and amenity spaces. So just continuing to require substantial landscaping and amenity spaces for multifamily developments, developing clear landscaping and amenity space standards for mixed use developments, and ensuring amenity areas are functional and support the needs of residents. As the last piece that is being examined by administration right now and how to get there. So our next steps with this whole process, administration is working right now over the summer, hoping to return to the committee of the whole in September with some of these identified in much more detail on a user-friendly chart where it identifies in one column the theme area, what's happening right now, what the feedback was some options on how other jurisdictions are looking at, these particular items, an administrative recommendation on what to do, and then an actual regulation that could be parachuted into the land use bylaw. So with that, that's my piece. I'm hoping to get some feedback now from council on any and all of that.
Perfect, thanks, Corey. One thing that I saw that's always difficult is when you're doing surveys like this and the feedback that we get, and this whole affordable housing thing, and what is affordable housing is the biggest question. Because it's different to me than it is to somebody else. That's different to somebody else. So when I see numbers like 93% support affordable housing, yet 90% want low density, doesn't add up. Because to provide affordable housing is high density. It's multifamily, developments, and that's what we're seeing in the Southwest here, right? That most people say that they support affordable housing, but somewhere else they don't want the high density, which I totally understand. I get it. That one's a tough one to navigate. The parking requirements, I'm absolutely 100% supportive of that in these multifamily high density developments. Michael?
The problem I have with this, first of all, is putting this into percentages and saying there's 93 and 90%. When your representative sample is 70% attended, 70 people attended approximately the in-person sessions. That's 0.004% of our population.
Yeah.
153 survey responses. That's 0.01% if we're talking percentages of our population. So I appreciate that we had residents that came out and residents that responded in survey. But if you dive into it a little deeper and you look at the demographics of who's represented in there, it's heavily weighted to the older side of our population. And that means 45 and up. That's where a significant number of these responses came from. I'm not saying that's right or wrong or indifferent, but it's not representative of the community. So I'm not saying this is a failed exercise. And I think generally the themes that are here are representative of the whole community. But when we put a document out there that has 80% of this and 90% of that, and you just read it that way, it's very misleading.
Right.
It's incredibly misleading. And in the conversation we had upstairs previously in that special meeting about transparency, I think we need to be really clear in our communication to the residents, to the public, to the people that live in the municipality, so that they're as informed as they can. Because if you throw a percentage number out there and say 93% of people are in favor of a convenience store on every corner in High River, and you only had one person or two, whatever, we can't use one person because that can be a percentage, but 4 people. And however that breaks out, that it's, 75% of people said they approve of this. It sounds like a really high approval rating, but who's really saying that? So I'm not trying to pick apart the work. I think there's some themes in here on all those comments that I read. There was a lot of repetition that was in there. So it's, thoughts that everybody seems to be having. But that was my comment about the presentation of the information.
The sample size is too small. Sample size is percentage.
Is pretty darn small, but
Town-wide.
we also know that it's tough to get engagement. That's a whole topic unto itself. I don't think we're on the wrong track with this, and I think there's some good things in there. I think we have concern about the representation of our community from a aesthetic perspective, what people are expecting. There's some NIMBYism in that, I want affordable housing, but not in my backyard, like you mentioned. I think that if we provide the environment for it, that companies like Dream are gonna come in and provide a product in an appropriate location. So when we started talking about this, it made me think about what we were just talking about in terms of your development. Here's a highly densified residential construct that is right there beside a grocery store, that is beside, you know, a pizza shop and whatever, there's Anytime Fitness, and like, it's walkable, right? Really cool. Take that same thing and, I don't know, drop it into, you know, next door to Craig's house in the southeast, maybe not the right spot for it. So we, you know, we rely on developers to build and provide product that is appropriate for the community in the area that they're building in, and hopefully we have, you know, good partners. And I said, I'll toot the horn for you again, that I think, you know, that's a good thing when you have a good partnership, you end up with good results. So, yeah, lots of the stuff we talked about, it's good going forward. I agree with things like the parking parameters, like Mayor Snodgrass was saying, but my initial comment about percentages, I think that's a little bit, I would like to see it presented differently somehow. I'm not saying it's wrong, and please don't take this as a negative criticism to all the hard work you guys did. I appreciate it, but I just think the perception can create things when it's isolated in a vacuum and these kind of numbers get thrown out. So that's just my comment.
Vicky?
It's kind of like an election. If people don't like what the survey says, they should have shown up. We have to make a decision at some point, and we need some guidance, and I find this to be helpful guidance. Thank you for this. But yeah, I mean, you don't like who got elected? Gee, you should have voted. That's it.
Don't disagree with you.
Bang on. You're 100% bang on. Jamie?
We do have to make a decision, you're right.
Yeah, I like, to me, this is just the initial stage of like kind of pulling out some of the high points that we need to start working on. Do I agree with all of the outcomes? No, I don't. I think there's a lot of things that we need to look at in a little more depth, before we finalize a lot of these things. Not unlike the amount, I'm not saying that we have to go to this effort, but we put a lot of effort into the town plan, we put a lot of effort into active transportation for all the communities that we're in. Like, I'm not saying we have to put that amount of effort into it, but this is something that the town came to us, like the community, not the administration, and said, we need to actually put some detailed work into this. I think this is great. This is a great starting point, but I think it's more work. I think there's a lot of things that we need to look at as a town too, like they can make things more affordable for the community, whether it's some of our standards that we have and all that, but that's another piece that can feed into this. Anyways, that's it.
As long as it's less than deep fried Oreos were. Not affordable. Anybody else? Thanks for the info.
Thanks for all the work that we do.
A lot more. Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Yep. It's the Cory meeting.
Go ahead.
If we're moving on, Mr. Mayor,
You betcha.
well, I will welcome back up Kanani. And scroll down. When you're ready.
To the next items, yeah. Good afternoon again, Mayor and Council. I do have first on the agenda, development permit, a variance permit application, here for information. This is a variance request that we received to build detached accessory building behind the garage in the rear lane with a side setback variance. So the location is right here. If we zoom out a little bit, it's in Montrose on 3rd Street. And then if we scroll down a little more, this is the copy of a real property report, which essentially shows where the pad was poured, in the rear lane and where the garage has now been built. Now, the applicant is essentially working backwards because garage has already been built without a development permit or a building permit. They're looking to legalize it through going through the variance application process for the side setback variance. The standard for a side setback is for it to be at least a minimum of 1 meter away from the side property line. Here, it was built at 0.59 meters to the side property line, as you can see here. Now, we have reviewed this request from a planning perspective and from a safety cost perspective as well, because we also wanted to inform you what the implications could be for both. From a planning perspective, we do see that we can support this request for the variance to the side setback, take it through the public appeal period. If there are no appeals to this request, then give an approved development permit. For the safety codes, from a safety codes perspective, our safety codes officer, Harold Wick, did let us know that it could be legalized through the building permit as well, although there could be implications to the built garage. There may need to be some requirements to further enhance the side of the garage that's close where the side setback variance is, because it's much closer than what is typically the standard. And that could mean a combination of hardy board material, different cladding to ensure that it is to the appropriate fire rating standard. That could have a financial implication to the applicant, essentially to fix that and remediate that what has already been built. If there are no concerns on the request to vary the side setback itself, our next steps would be to finalize the circulation that we had for internal comments. We'll also just work through them, answer any kinds of feedback if you wish to share with the applicant. If the variance is granted, we'll start the 21-day public appeal period to see if there are anybody that does have a concern and would like to appeal. If not, then at that point, the development permit would be issued. Part of the conditions that we'll have for this development is that the applicant does need to ensure that they also receive a building permit and work with our safety codes officer to meet the requirements that they will determine through the building permit. Does council have any questions or comments for this one?
Just one question, when you go to the next, I think it's the next picture, or the one just before it. It looks like the garage on the right-hand side is actually closer to the alley than this one. Then that one was approved, but when you visually look at that, it's actually closer to the laneway than the one that they built, and that was part of the problem that you're asking for the variance for? Is it too close?
It's how close it is.
We're taking it to this side, yeah, side setback.
Not the alley from the alley, because
Not, that would be the rear, so yeah, we're not the rear laneway,
Okay.
not the rear setback, the side setback, yeah.
it's the side setback.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Was this the one where the rationale was they had to have the side setback changed because there were some utility services or something running on
That is correct.
the other side of the property?
Yeah, when we reached out to the builder who initially poured that concrete pad as part of the development permit for the single detached home, they let us know that there was a trench coming from the lane on the south side, and that pushed their pad further closer to the side setback than it was originally reviewed for.
With the pad, then there should have been a variance request before they poured the pad. Then
With
we
the pad-
wouldn't be here having this variance,
Yeah.
right?
When we reviewed the original application for the single detached home, it did only show the pad. The pad was shown to be in compliance at that time, but had it also not been shown to be in compliance, we don't review for a pad itself. So we really just did a review for a building structure. If their intent was a development permit was right away to have had a garage, then that would have been reviewed for the side setback requirements. But because it was only a pad that was shown, it would not have been reviewed. We would have flagged it to the applicant, typically we flag it to them to let them know that this is only a pad right now, but these are the side setbacks you're proposing. This could pose, issues or additional steps in the future, right? For example, a variance request, if you're looking to build it out to a full garage.
The initial drawings did not show the pad to be in the correct spot, correct? Is that what you're saying?
The initial development permit did show it being in compliance.
In compliance,
Yeah.
when they poured it, they moved it
Exactly.
Because of the utility, right?
because of the utility.
That's what they let us know, so. Because yes, initially it was meant to be 1.05 meters on either side, but when this came to us, as a signing information at first, that's how this was triggered. This is what we realized what it actually is.
My concern lies more with non-compliance of the guiding laws that are in place, right? So we got a developer that just put a pad wherever they felt like it. Then we got somebody that built a building without a development permit or a building permit, and now they're coming back. And then they seem to express,
Please forgive me.
yeah, then they seem to express concern about having financial burden on meeting fire code, really, if they have to provide some different cladding to the side of the building, so. No, I'm not trying to run this person or company under the bus, but what do we do? And like, you just can't build in town willy-nilly and decide that, well, I'm gonna put up a house and then I'm gonna go to the town and ask them if that's okay after I built it. What do we, I don't think I've ever come across
It's the
this
beg
before.
for forgiveness afterwards.
Yeah, so what do we do with
never-
this I'm looking for some guidance. What do we do with this as a municipality?
Go ahead, Gennady.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, and I would just like to clarify, the applicant has not yet indicated whether, it may be a burden or not for them to remediate or like, essentially correct, right, the site that's been impacted. We wanted to flag it here that is definitely a potential financial implication, right? So if you guys hear back about it again, you have already been informed, and it's not a surprise to anybody, right?
How do we avoid this in the future?
We can certainly take a look to see,
Like this whole pad issue that
right,
not being inspected or not being, worried about it kind of thing, right?
it would have to be a change or a new approach to how we review things that are not structural buildings. Because when it's just a pad, right, it doesn't meet the definition of a building, and so the
But that's the
setbacks.
thing, the pad is what dictates where that building is going to go. So it's the first line of defense we have to get ahead of this stuff. So
Yes.
there's a change that we need to absolutely put these
Essentially,
pads on the radar as much as anything else.
But how does that? Okay, and I agree with you, I'm not disagreeing with it, but there's been times when I remember just in the past where families have put in a pad and then they don't put up a garage for 10 years, right? And they might not get a building permit because they've got a pad already, they're okay, right?
But the DP approval needs to be there, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Gennady?
Yeah, correct, Mayor Craig, to your point, when the original development permit approval was reviewed, it did show the pad to be in compliance, right? So this was really not a case of even it not being reviewed or not being flagged, right? If it was potentially a pad, but outside of what the typical setback would be for a future garage. In this particular case, it did show it to be in compliance, so the expectation would have been that it would have been built in that location, right, that was reviewed and approved for, and shown. And so this was really done without notification to administration, right?
Yeah, so how do you how do you catch that
Well,
before they're pouring concrete? Go ahead, Vicky.
Essentially, if you're not building a structure, do we have control over it? And in most, I'm not sure about our bylaw, but in most land use bylaws, if you wanna pave your front yard, you can. You don't need a permit to do that, because you're not building up. And that's the issue that we've got, I think, with the pad. I don't think it's the fault of our department for not catching this pad, whether it was first presented as being in compliance or not. It's a question of whether or not we wanna start determining where people put sidewalks, where they put gravel pathways, where they put parking pads. How intricate are we gonna get in controlling what they do? with
Well, I
the
don't think
property?
this is getting too far into the weeds comparing it to a sidewalk or something else. I think if it's something so obvious as a garage pad,
But if you would have
It
found
can't
the
be.
How did this get triggered in the first place? How did you
Yeah.
find out about this garage?
sorry, Joe, bye.
Yeah, I want to respond to just the, back the bus up here a little bit. So the original application that showed this pad on it, showed the pad in the right spot, the right
Exactly.
spot. And then there was the knowledge that there was utility lines that were running up the side of the house, so the contractor took it upon himself to move the pad to the side. And then an owner went and built a garage on that pad, and is now, for some reason, needing to make it right, and has come for a development permit for that.
He probably wants to sell, and can't get an RPR,
So
but
that's why we are here.
he's, he either takes the garage down or slices a piece off of it, or as Michael says, we give him a free pass. I mean, I'm not happy with either.
Or he fire protects it, meets safety standards.
That's still not complying with it's a condition of a variance, am I right? That would be a condition of the variance. It doesn't change the fact that they're still not compliant. Right.
If we issue a development permit, it will be compliant. Okay, so the
Right.
development permit is the trigger which makes something compliant or non-compliant. So if a development permit is issued, it will still be not conforming with the setback within the land use bylaw. But from a compliance perspective, the development permit makes it a compliant structure.
That becomes a non-conforming use. It might have a permit that is not conforming to the
It does not conform to the side yard setback. of the land use bylaw.
So it'll need some accommodation.
And if the development permit for the variance, regards the variance permit is issued, that essentially acts as that accommodation until they demolish it and then they have to replace it in a compliant location.
So.
Yeah.
I'd say everybody who is negligent, tear the garage down.
And to add a little bit more context, right now in our planning division, we don't really have capacity or in our process to do inspections, right? Prior, after we have reviewed the development permit, we know what on paper it is expected to be built to. We don't have checks right now or inspections prior to certain aspects of our project being, started to verify that our next current verification really is when somebody submits a real property report for compliance. And even with a compliance review right now, usually our approach has been to either issue a compliance or an advisory letter, right? That essentially identifies what is not being compliant, but typically it does not have, in practice, like historically, it has not asked the person to remediate it to like such an extent as to relocate something, unless it's in the UW. Councilor Jenny?
If he had asked for the development permit previous to putting up the structure, would you have caught the pad variance or no?
So the pad was shown with the original development permit for the single detached home. And it was shown to be in compliance, so it
No,
was.
but when he put in the application before that was built, would you have seen that? Would you have pulled the title and seen that it was not in compliance?
Can I clarify one thing? So development permit is when you build the house, correct? And then a building permit
building
is a different piece? Is that correct? So he did not get a building permit, is that correct, Corey? Or can I?
So,
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll try to hit both. So there's two stages. There's a development permit, and then there's a building permit. So the development permit is handled through the planning and development department. The building permit is handled through a safety codes permitting function.
For the garage specifically.
So if this applicant had applied, when they should have, prior to construction of the garage, that application should have come in with the proper measurements. So they should have gone and measured, okay, here is the side yard, and no one, it should have been meter, 5 centimeters, instead I'm at 59 centimeters. I wonder what happened. Well, I have to submit that because they're being forthright. So if the owner had done what they should have done and they did it correctly, then it would have come in at a 59 centimeter side yard.
Perfect, thank you.
And I think to be fully transparent as well, typically a development permit for a single detached home may or may not come with a proposal to build a garage. If it is a case where it is shown through the development permit, we can review it through one development permit for both placement, location of the single detached home, placement, location of the garage. Once for the building permit, they do require 2 separate building permits. And usually the process is whenever there is a building permit for a garage, we still receive a siting confirmation, and then we can determine and review if it has been reviewed previously, or if it hasn't, for the proposed side setbacks. With this application that we have here, the applicant that's how the applicant first identified it to us, that he is looking to build a garage. It was a building permit that they have applied for. We received the siting confirmation. Siting confirmation essentially showed the real property report for the proposed setbacks of his garage. And at that point, we identified to the applicant, this is a variance request. This requires a variance application process if you are looking to actually have the garage here at this location. So this was about in April or so of this year. And since then, we have found out after the applicant then followed up with us that he's actually built it without a building permit or a development permit, and essentially now wants to legalize it.
Go back.
Yeah.
Kathy?
We don't have a fine or penalty system in place for someone that builds something without a development permit?
A stop work order, but usually it's applicable when there is an active development permit that we can issue a stop work order for. Or a building permit, but in this case, we didn't have one. There was a building permit that was initially submitted. We could check if it was a complete building permit that was actually accepted, right? So,
There are no fines. There's no fines in the land use bylaw or no, and oftentimes in the fee bylaw, a municipality will state in the fee bylaw, if it's already constructed, it's twice the fees.
Right.
So,
That was my next question, is do other municipalities have something built in?
yes, other municipalities, give the wave of the finger by saying you have to pay double
If
the
you're gonna
fee.
try to rewind it, you're paying
Yeah.
double. Yeah.
So
Let's add that to
And
the
so there-
list.
That's kind of where I'm going.
That may be
How do
triggered
we
here.
avoid this in the future? How do we get
There's
ahead
no
of this?
deterrent.
Like, this one is what it is. It's a learning thing for us but I think you're bang on, Corey, with we need some, and Kathy, we need some things in play that deters.
There we go. Corey can write up an amendment to the bylaw and have that to us for this afternoon, right?
Appreciate it.
We're only 25 minutes. So the
So
one
on the, let's just deal with this, because we still got one more to deal with. Is everybody okay with allowing this variance to go through and let these guys finish it off? Or Do you wanna fire up a D8 Cat 50 and run it through?
If she gets to do it. If she gets to do it.
If I get
Right?
another beep on my phone.
Dealing with the future and dealing with, well, what can we do to deter this stuff is another conversation. Are we okay with moving on past this?
I think so. Two things. One is, as long as Harold's okay with it from the safety perspective.
Absolutely.
And number two, as long as they pay their building permit, current one that we have, right? And we're okay with that. Cause then we don't let anybody else walk on us.
For sure. Good.
And if I were the neighbor, remove the dirt that's draining everything right
Yeah,
into their
that's what
garage.
they say.
Drainage is a big thing, of course.
Okay.
Is that what you need, Gennady?
That's what I need.
Okay,
Yep.
next one.
Okay, and then the next one is also a variance request to the side setback, in a different location now. This is in High Country Drive rather than Montrose. A similar, type of proposal, however, it's not built yet. We are reviewing it right now for the side setback, variance. The applicant's proposing it to be 0.61 meters. Now, we do have some site photos that they have shared, so it does look like they have at least poured the concrete pad. And it may already be poured to being at 0.61. The site photo makes it look like it may even be a bit closer to the fence. But, that does come with a small caveat, being that without having a compliance, report, it can be difficult to really rely on the location of the fence, because the fence may not actually be truly on the property line. However, it would be the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that the setback that they are being reviewed for and approved for is the setback that they are actually building to. Here, we did start a circulation period as well, once we accepted the variance permit application, and we're currently going through receiving comments from internal departments. Safety goals. Harold did identify that, again, the applicant, wouldn't have any concerns if the applicants go through the building permit and gets it to the appropriate requirements. In this case, because the proposed site setback is 0.61 meters, there are not additional structural requirements if the applicant ensures that there are no openings, structural openings or any windows on that side. So that is something that we will make sure that is captured through the building permit and also through our development permit for conditions that we need to meet. Otherwise, we also don't have a concern with supporting the variance, then it goes through the public appeal period. And then if nobody has any concerns with the proposed site setback, issuing the development permit.
Is notification to neighbors triggered with this?
Exactly, for this one and for the previous one, a notification will be triggered, and it usually comes in the form of a posting card. It may also come in the form of mailing out adjacent residences, just so that they have that notification of the 21-day public appeal period happening.
When required.
Yeah.
We caught that. Yeah, so here we are again, exact same issue as before, right? Didn't meet that support beforehand and begging for forgiveness afterwards, so.
This isn't some person that just bought some dirt and decided to build. This is somebody with
From a planning perspective,
experience.
it should not cause any negative impacts from a planning perspective. As long as they still ensure that drainage does not impact the adjacent property, that there are no encroachments of the building to an adjacent property. And that's where we are really looking for feedback from a planning perspective, and of course, we'll ensure that from a building permit perspective, that the applicant, goes through the appropriate, requirements for this.
From what I'm reading, this fellow just wants to do it because he would like another 0.4 meters of the side yard. That is just a preference, there's not a
A preference,
imperative.
absolutely, yes.
But, yeah, the pad's poured and the game goes back to,
You cut the pad.
you cut the.
It is an option.
Um, I can put it back. How much of that pad has to come off to meet?
Well, if it is really truly at 0.61 right now, logically it would be about 0.4 meters that would need to be cut. Yeah.
But you're saying you're guessing it's close.
It seems tighter.
Visually it seems like it, but again, sometimes the fence is not truly on the property line, so you can't also always rely on it very accurately.
Right.
I have a tape measure, I can go check.
Okay. Report back.
Okay.
You wouldn't necessarily have to cut the concrete, could you not just build the wall 6 inches in?
Yeah, just leave some concrete hanging out on the side, yeah. Sure.
Well,
It's not
put some dirt up around it.
It's not great for your bottom plate, so because you have finished concrete that is like directed towards the middle, the drainage, so it's gonna rot your bottom plates and the side water. Yeah.
It's not a nice problem, little thing. Just kidding.
No, it's not. I could care less. Wall falls down.
But the problem still lies with these pads being built before anything is triggered for compliance. And I don't know how we rectify that.
What if you put it, this is a crazy idea, and this is spitball, what if they put in a garage pad, as soon as they put in a garage pad in our jurisdiction, it triggers a building permit. And it could be left open for 5 years, and if they wanna renew it again, they gotta open it up, and I don't know, I'm just throwing something out there.
Well, no, this is done on purpose. He knows his laws.
Right.
He built it so that he didn't have to put fire rating on the one side. And so basically, he poured it and now is asking the variance. He's a builder. He knows. He did this on purpose.
I get it, but that's where, that's whole other thing where we do double
So
the
if-
fees, and then if it's 3 times, it's 3 times, I don't know.
Yeah,
Keep
so
escalating
if
it.
0.6 is okay, is the variance that we wanna go with, then why don't we change the bylaw? So that's gonna keep happening for this reason. Or if we want a 1 meter setback, we need to have that. We need to enforce it.
Is there anything legally we have to have, like for sidewalk passage down the side of a unit or the side of a house? Like if a house, how close can a house come to the property line?
That's very dependent on building code. Like the side yard setback is building code plus whatever the municipality chooses it to be.
So why would this not be any different? Because for all intents and purposes, somebody could be living in there, right? That's what's happening.
And Harold did explain to me that usually you have more stringent requirements when it is a dwelling unit. So like for homes, of course, there are thresholds that are more easily triggered. If you bring your building closer to the side property lines with a garage, not being a dwelling unit, the requirements are not as stringent. That's why we didn't have as many concerns. Now, per our the information that we have, we don't expect that anybody would live in that, right? But for if it were to be an additional dwelling unit, of course, that would trigger, additional requirements that perhaps there's just being a garage might not be meeting.
So
It's fine. Sorry.
I will poke holes in that because, and it's not to do with the town of Harbor, but it was an outside jurisdiction. And I actually got indirectly involved with a project where somebody turned a unit that didn't look like a house and it ended up being a house. And they actually went through the whole development building permit process, not intended to be a house, and it ended up being a house, right? Cause all it takes is somebody to do some little change, so, I don't know. I know we're not gonna solve it today, but with this, I think he just cuts off the piece that needs to make it correct.
There's at least one garage in town that is being used as a dwelling unit. It's still a garage. And every summer, they set out about 10 or 15 cots in it, and it's a dwelling house. So I mean, we can't really count on a garage being a garage.
No.
My,
We should go
my,
through the same.
we hold them to the rules
Yeah.
and just stick to our guns.
So, without us saying the solution, does council want to deny this variance application? I'm struggling with that one, simply because of what we talked about, both of these.
Yeah.
Having the
Right.
proper process and rules in place, that
Yeah.
you're kind of doing one for one and not the same for the other.
True.
Yeah. Kind of not.
Then there'd be 50 more people standing in line.
Well, this is the thing we gotta get ahead of. You're exactly right, Vicky, and that's exactly my concern, is that this is obviously with builders. Rob's one, the other guy, whoever poured the pad previously, that's another builder. It's obviously a thing they think is okay to, well, we'll pour it and ask for forgiveness later. What are they gonna do? Make me tear out all the concrete? Well, we don't have enough meat, we don't have enough teeth in this thing to be able to force them to do that if we need to get,
We don't.
well,
If we deny the variance, what alternative is there?
Up for the planning board.
But how do you
if
learn?
we're gonna deny this one, I wanna
Yeah.
go back and deny the other one too, but
Because they built the garage.
this guy's gotta cut that and the other guy's gotta tear it down, take his cats back and play. Right? My personal thing is I'd be okay with allowing these two to go ahead and get provisions in place to deter this crap in the future somehow, quickly. That's my thing. Anybody else? What do you guys wanna do? I'll go down the horn, Michael. We got 12 minutes
Yeah.
before our 3 o'clock, so we gotta go
I
quick here.
understand your rationale, but I'm holding the, I don't know who the other, whatever developer, builder of the garage is. This is somebody that lives in the community, that builds in the community and thinks it's okay to do this.
I feel like I did it on purpose because.
Well,
he had
I know,
information
yeah,
coming
I
forward.
know, I don't know who that is, that wasn't disclosed, I'm just saying, I know a name here, right? And I just struggle with that. I think if you're a developer in the community, you hold yourself to a standard. Standard is what's within the bylaw.
Go on.
And if there's a variance to that, you go through the process and you end up here and there's a decision that's made. You don't get to do it and then come back and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know, I guess this person maybe had a really off day, might have had a really off day when they did this. I'll put some grace out there that, we've all had days where our brain doesn't work quite the way we want it to. And maybe this was one of those days. I don't know. I don't know the thought process there, but.
Variance, yeah, your name. Want me to come back to it?
Yeah.
Jenny?
Nay.
Taking faces and names out of it, I say name, nay.
Can I just add this one? Oh, no? Okay.
Vicky?
Is it preference, not a need, name?
Garth?
I'm with the nay.
Yes.
Michael?
trails. Yeah, well, no, yeah, because we did it for the other one, I'm gonna say yes, because we've set the previous precedent, but we need something to come to us like yesterday to put a stop to this stuff. I was gonna use a different word, but that needs to happen so fast, because we've just got a glaring open hole here in my observation.
So the variance has been denied.
Well, can we do that here?
Well, that's our feedback.
Our feedback, oh.
That's our feedback to them, is that we're not okay with the variance.
Yeah,
But they
so,
can,
so administration now takes that information and we will render a decision based off of that information that council is not in support of the variance. And there is no larger, in my experience, there is no larger hint to the development community that this is not acceptable than a council saying this is not acceptable and placing that responsibility on administration to carry that through, which we will do.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mayor and Council.
We got 4 minutes for a quick, I'll go to the public, screw council, I'll go to the public questions.
I got a very quick question for you, please. The roundabout on Cloud Trail and Sixth Avenue, I noticed that all of the shrubbery has been taken out, it's 4 rocks.
Yep.
Which is fine, but I also know there's supposed to be a new development in there for 1-8.
For the Rotary.
For the Rotary,
Yep.
so different floral and fauna and all of that stuff will be replaced instead of the rock covering.
So the landscaping that is in place has been designed with Rotary, with the windmills, it's all,
Okay, I was
they're all
under
working together.
the impression it was all going to be different shrubbery
And it is.
Oh.
It actually is, yeah, there's 3 different, but what you're asking is exactly what happened.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
they're working
I'm good.
directly with Rotary on it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Land use bylaw, during the election, #1 issue was blanket rezoning. Didn't hear any of that discussion at all about blanket rezoning, and that's the sort of the buzzword that we had at the time. And I'm looking for, it feels like we're looking at an entire community and we're not looking at individual areas, like for example, the needs of the Southwest versus the needs of the Northeast. I love the land use bylaw for anything new, like what's happening up at the Northeast there. And on its Fitzy, great, perfect. But for existing neighborhoods, we gotta pay more attention.
I think so, I think you're exactly right, Jamie, Lewis. The TND encompasses a lot of different pieces in it, right? That don't all, the Southwest is very different than other TND.
And to Michael's comment about the number of people that responded, yes, it's hard to get to people to respond, but I would suggest that a single household that has maybe 3 or 4 residents would only do it once. Right, and you're counting all the residents, so I would say a number of households, you're a lot better at math than I am for what percentage that would be, but it still isn't a very big percentage, but generally, like, I didn't have anybody else in my house fill out that, and I just did it myself, so.
Yes. Garth?
Just a quick, do we have any updates on 605 and has there anybody been, to attention about what the lot looks like? Cause it's a mess. He did his initial cleanup, but that was it. Yeah, but now there's the boulevard, all of it is 3 feet, 4 feet tall.
Not being kept up, so 605 McLeod Trail, can you follow up with Jordan? Get it cleaned up?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is he still,
I'm like, Jordan's not an employee.
regardless,
Yes, I'll follow up with somebody, we'll get.
he has a responsibility to keep his property clean
Yes.
and tidy and mowed, et cetera, so
I guess
he's not doing himself
Real
any
quick.
favors.
I think it's come to attention of administration, but there was a lot in 9th Street, 9th Avenue that they're just dumping dirt into from another lot that they own.
Yes, it doesn't appear they have permits, we're following up.
Okay, perfect.
Trying to determine the owner.
Where's that?
The house that burnt down, by sometime before something.
Oh, really? So it's the house one?
The house is gone, and now the owners are just dumping dirt.
Okay, meeting adjourned, 2:55.
because it's not.